If I may borrow from the great Stacey King, Chicago Bulls PA announcer, Jimmy G buckets, and the G stands for gets. 41 points by Jimmy Butler here in game one as they win it 118-107. Butler leading the way. Plenty of help from his supporting cast and Tyler Hero, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent. It's a strong first half out of Boston, but this one decided in the third quarter. In the second half specifically, Miami outscoring Boston 64-45 coming out of the locker room as they take the 1-0 series lead and maintain their perfect record at home this postseason. All right, let's break it all down with the coach, Avery Johnson. Coach, interesting game one here between these two teams. Looked like all Boston to start, and then it really flipped the script. Narrative change there in the third quarter as the Heat came out of the locker room on a 22-2 run. What does that tell you about this team and their coaching coming out of the break that way?
Yeah, this game was won in the third quarter. Again, the Celtics were stuck on 2 points for a long time in the third quarter. Give Robert Williams credit. He played outstanding in the first half. But remember what I said all along on CBS Sports HQ all day. Robert Williams can have a great impact on this game, but he's not Marcus Smart. They miss Marcus Smart defense, especially on Jimmy Buckets. Jimmy Buckets was outstanding, and especially in that second half, Miami Heat dominated the Celtics in that third quarter, holding the Celtics to only 14 points. And you look at the turnovers from Jason Tatum, the way he didn't take care of the ball. Miami had 11 blocked shots in this game. They didn't do a good job of defending the paint in the first half, but you can see what their strategy was. They wanted to really run the Celtics off the three-point line, which opened up some drives. But the turnovers, the steals from Jimmy Buckets and the rest of the Miami Heat, they just dominated in that third quarter, which really set the tone for them to get this victory.
Yeah, Butler very assertive at both ends of the court. And I want to talk a little bit more about Jimmy Buckets here because that's his third 40-plus point performance already this postseason. He's gone for 30-plus 6 times, Coach. They've only played 11 games. I know we're getting caught up in the narrative and the storyline of Jason Tatum and his emergence because of his age. But are we missing the headline here on Jimmy Butler really taking the step to another level this postseason?
Well, that's kind of the 1A of the headline, Joe. Jimmy Buckets was unbelievable. You know, he gets to the free throw line. I mean, he almost attempted 20 free throws tonight. But this guy's been terrific. You know, he's really also rubbing it in Philadelphia 76ers face. Like, why did you guys not re-sign me a couple of years ago? But that's another story. But give Jimmy credit. But also the storyline is something that we talked about also earlier today before this game. Can Miami slow down Jaylen Brown? They really can't do anything with Jason Tatum. The same way Boston can't really slow down Jimmy Buckets. But can Miami slow down Jaylen Brown? They did it tonight. If Jaylen Brown and Tatum, if they don't combine for 60, 65-plus points, this series could be over in a hurry, especially without the defensive abilities of Marcus Smart.
I think it's interesting to note as well, 2-day layoff here after that epic series with the Bucks. Miami did have 5 days to get right for this matchup. You sensing any residual effects here on Boston, Coach? I mean, you got to go through a Nets team who, yes, you sweeped, but a tough team with all-star scorers all over that roster. Then you got to go through the defending champs and the best player in the world. Now you're facing off with the Miami team that brings a complete effort night in and night out. Are you sensing that this is a Boston team maybe running a little bit on empty right now?
Well, especially without Al Horford and Marcus Smart in the lineup. These are guys that had their moments in the Eastern Conference semifinals against Milwaukee. Al Horford had an unbelievable game against Giannis and again propelled them to get to the next game so that they can have an opportunity to win. Miami's the much fresher team. Their road to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think, is much easier. They do a really good job of eliminating players from a series the same way they did with James Harden. And that's why I picked Miami to win in 7, and maybe it might be over sooner than that, because if they can eliminate Jaylen Brown in this series, I just think it's going to bode well for them. Too many matchup problems. And we talked about it. I'm watching the game. My wife is a basketball junkie. She loves sports, and she was really impressed with Pritchard on the offensive end. But then there's the other side of basketball. What about the defensive end? You can see that Miami really sought Pritchard out on the defensive end and really exploited that matchup.
Can't have any cones out there, Coach. We need defenders. Before we let you go, I had to get it in for you.
You're not right, Joe. Joe, that's not right, Joe.
We got to have a little fun here, Coach. You make a great point, though, about Horford, Smart, their absence really being felt here in Game 1. Both of their availability squarely in question for Game 2 as well. So with that in mind, what are the adjustments from Game 1 to Game 2 for this Boston side?
You know, Boston, when you're in the series and you're in the Eastern Conference Finals, might be a good time to play some zone. I know that's not really the sexy thing to do for coaches. I went through the same thing as a coach. I had so many of my assistant coaches in the past said, Avery, just try to mix in a zone every now and then. Because sometimes as coaches, we think when a team scores a bucket on the zone, it's 5 points or 6 points, whereas it is still 2 or 3 points. But I think they got to mix in a little zone, little 2-3 zone. Just throw a curveball at Miami, try to steal a couple of possessions, and then they cannot switch Pritchard on to Jimmy Butler. You cannot do that. That's a failed experiment. Trap Jimmy Butler, get the ball out of his hands, try to make Miami play on the backside.
Got a feeling we're in for another good series, Coach. I know you called it in 7. We'd be so lucky to see it, but 7 is the number now for the Heat. We're just 7 wins away from raising another banner. Coach, we appreciate you.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, here's a look at that series schedule. Game 2 coming your way from Miami on Thursday, so some rest between here. Just getting that one day. That's coming your way at 8:30 Eastern, and then the rest comes. Perhaps Boston can peel one off on the road and then take it back home and even one, or they head home in a position they know all too well, trailing 0-2, but with plenty of work to be done. Ime Udoka is at the podium back out in Miami.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.